Hello, welcome back to Search Sean, and this is another Chat with Sean episode, and yeah, it's going to be a good one. As usual, let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way, and then we'll get on to my great guest. So yeah, lots going on, actually too much going on that I'm struggling to find the time to edit all the videos and stuff. But so I've recently had on Jono Alderson, and fantastic insights, so knowledgeable, well worth watching that one. I love his blog, so go and follow him on LinkedIn, check that one out. I've also done a deep dive into Wikipedia. Been talking about this for ages. I finally did it. It is a long video, but I think you need to kind of watch it all to kind of get the whole picture. And yeah, I find it really fascinating, the fact that it's so embedded into our lives. When you actually stop and look at it, it's actually quite interesting how it's all set up and run. So definitely worth checking it out when you get a few hours spare, if that's possible. And then also I've had recently on Crystal Carter on the channel. By the time this goes out, that will be out as well. So that was a really good chat. So definitely check it out. And then finally did another long version of the SEO and AI snapshot news. Obviously cover everything in SEO, digital marketing, AI, all involving lots of videos and interactive assets on there. So yeah, really, really cool. I find it interesting to do because we cover such a wide spectrum of different things going on in them. Not just the usual stuff like algorithm updates, we throw in actual cool AI stories and stuff like that. So yeah, go and check that one out. So yeah, I'll stop banging on. And obviously got a great guest today and I'll introduce him now. So we've got Yagmur Simsek, a freelance SEO consultant and founder of the Search and Stuff networking project. Yeah, such great events. I mean, I've heard so many good things. Obviously, I have serious FOMO when I see them on LinkedIn. I must admit when I can't get there. But yeah, I mean, great to have you on, and yeah, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for the invite. It's really a pleasure to be here and chatting with you, another SEO.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously, we'll be discussing some of the things going on in search in a moment because it is so crazy. But mainly, I want to know about, because I've done a few events in my life and they're not the easiest things to put together. I know that for a fact. But you're doing it regularly and at a big scale, So can you tell us about the award-winning events and what usually happens at your events? Obviously, like I say, they're award-winning. You're doing something right. So what happens at them and why are they so good?
Great. I mean, obviously, just won the award, like silver award in June, but this journey started like a couple of years ago. The starting point was people love Turkish food, and I was actually arranging volunteer networking dinner to bring people together, and the name stuff was made up because of that. And we were like talking not only SEO or search, we were also having fun and chat, and then made me feel good. And I started thinking, oh, what if it becomes like a community of, digital marketers who share the similar like-minded digital gusto. So we started organizing small meetups in London, particularly. And then afterwards, we obviously arranged organized a big global conference, the first one, like last year. And it was in Antalya. It was my hometown, so I wanted to start from there, from Turkey, and bring the global community together in there as well. That was really meaningful. And when it comes to award-winning event, I guess it's not because we are getting together for conference talks, but this project particularly is kind of a networking project. Not only we talk about search trends or case studies, but we also create an environment that people can think like this is an all-inclusive retreat style, so they can actually connect anytime during those 3 nights, like at dinners, after dinner at the bar, like by the beach, and kind of create them the environment that they can feel secure and also free to share anything that they want to. They are not recorded. They're not they can't make any reflection. And let's say if they met on the first day of the conference, they can continue the conversation on the second day after the dinner. And then at the end of the conference, maybe they will become like, I don't know, project partners or business partners. I mean, we've seen that. So I think the most important thing is to create that energy and the vibe that people want to, feel again and again. So it's kind of not only one thing job, it just comes together when we organize it. And I think we already done a good job on the first one. I always say the first one is always special. And now we are trying to add up to that. So because we already set the standards really high. So this week I was thinking, what else we do? So I can actually improve it from there. But yeah, and people left about saying, oh, we kind of felt like we got a professional family holiday or something like that. I think it's kind of a chosen holiday of your professional life, which is good. And always learning actionable insights and inspirational topics.
Yeah, like we met at a networking event, didn't we? In person the first time I met you. And I mean, obviously we wouldn't be having this conversation really if it wasn't for that. And also I met quite a few others at that event as well. And we've connected, and some of them are going to come on the channel. And yeah, it does really, like you say, some events like conferences and stuff, it is very formal. You sit there, you watch something, you go to another one, you watch it, and then you go home. And then, but yeah, and it's just amazing. I'm kind of getting out of the shell now and kind of going to more of these networking things. Well, I must admit, I haven't done as many as I should have done in the past, but just on that one event, so many great conversations, and just the fact that it was kind of relaxed, but also like at most parties, if I talk about SEO, people would just run a mile, but actually these people actually wanted to talk SEO and stuff. And it was amazing that you can actually have a drink in one hand and talk about SEO. And yeah, it was really cool. And you also do some localized meetup stuff as well, don't you, as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in London, every 2-3 months, we are organizing smaller meetups, maximum 60-70 people, over quick fire talks, not long talks, but because we have limited time, but quick fire talks, actionable insights, and then followed with networking drinks and foods. And sometimes we organize Christmas dinners. Last year we organized a dinner for Christmas, and this year we're going to organize a Christmas party, to be honest. So yeah, we kind of are organizing new meetups in London as well. And one, which is secret now, to be honest, for next year, it's going to be a really, really big and good one. So yeah, we tend to organize regularly so that community can bring together. And also, sometimes we receive messages, oh man, this was happening a day before, I would love to join that, etc. So we kind of hear those a lot, so we want to do something regularly.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully my invite will be in the post for those secret ones. So, what makes a good in your opinion, what makes a good marketing event? Obviously, you're talking about the vibes and the sort of atmosphere and the relaxed the way about it. But, I must admit, the best events I've been to, well, apart from that one we just discussed, is generally when there's talks that are a bit more outside of the normal, sort of topics. Because obviously we watch as SEOs, we see there's so much content. Obviously, I contribute to that. And a lot of it is about the same subjects all the time. So when it's a bit more outside the norm, it's a bit more interesting. So yeah, what do you think makes a good marketing event these days?
I think that's really a good question, but also a very difficult topic to kind of make sure if we are doing the right thing, etc. And I totally agree, because we are reading articles, watching videos, reading newsletters, even chatting on WhatsApp groups and Slack groups. So we read and know a lot of stuff. And we need to learn something different when we attend a conference or any event, basically. Or then the reason is becoming like only networking. Like I stopped going some conferences because I no longer learn a new trend or insight anymore, because I'm going there sometimes just for networking and see my friends. So I don't want to do that, obviously, with these events. But of course, there's always some area that can be left, because at the level of people who are joining, like the knowledge level of people can differ, and we should respect it as well. Like I think we need to keep the balance, like maybe even creating sections for the conference, so some senior level of digital marketing will know that those sections are created for the newcomers, and we also need to hear their voice as well, and need to be actually role models to those who want to learn new stuff. But also we need to create the balance, like we need to appeal to the senior levels as well, if there are audience, of course. So I'm just not talking from search and stuff perspective, but in general, like we need to know which audience we are focusing on, and then kind of craft the journey, the conference journey accordingly. And obviously create the balance in between, let's say, sales talks or, actionable insights. I mean, of course, corporates are standing with sponsor support, and there will be sponsors, like there will be sponsor talks and some sales speech as well. But we need to keep the balance, and maybe even choose the sponsor wisely to kind of give more insight to our audience. And I think in the diversity of voice is also very important. Like, I don't know, even the people who are coming from different backgrounds, different countries, but also from different perspectives. Like we can't only have agency employees, agency teams on the stage. We also need to provide different perspectives, like clients' perspectives, but also even startup perspectives, and sometimes from the freelancers. I have a lot of friends who do freelance consultancy, and they are not like agencies, but also not like brand. They have different pain points. So I think we need to also provide some strategic tools for those audiences. I mean, it depends on like what you are focusing on, of course, and what's your initial vision with those events. And I'm just trying to keep the balance at the moment. And I'm not only focusing on SEO anymore as well. Like we need, as SEOs, we need to improve our soft skills, but also other skills like in paid performance and maybe even UX, even AI tools, etc. So I'm kind of trying to create an agenda that can blend all the aspects, so that we can actually improve our other skills and be meaningful when we have a new client and create a strategy for the long term. So I think those are really important, and always the experiences matters, and creating the community like matters. When I say experience, it's not only the platform, like the environment we created, but also food and drinks, and even the competitions, even the promotional materials. I think they're all important, but in different perspectives. So
many great points there. I think it's you're spot on in that sense that I think obviously we're more like experienced, but an SEO, for example, like started off very like people in the industry. It was very much like properly experienced SEOs, but now if you go Brighton SEO, there's a whole range of like startup business owners and just general business owners that are interested in SEO and stuff, and they, like you say, they're going there to kind of learn those things as well. So I think that's a good approach if you could try and break that up. And also you say like the diverse sort of nature of it. I think, like I'm very fascinated when I see on LinkedIn, like Natalia Vichik or whatever, talking about what's going on in China and places like that. Like, I find it fascinating what's going on around the world in search, and we don't really see much visibility of that. Obviously, we're focused on Google and Bing and whatnot, but it's interesting to see what's going on in other search engines and stuff. And then, like you say, just to plug it, I am doing a dedicated show on freelancers actually soon, because I define, you say, it's like I talk to a lot of agencies, I talk a lot to in-house people, but freelancers, like you say, in that kind of middle ground, and I find it fascinating. So yeah, that's really cool. And if you're watching this, you have ideas on what you would like to see. I'm always up for changing it up on this channel, but also I'm sure Yama is also like up for doing certain things if they can. And so for example, obviously we've got like the Real Talk with Sean episodes, and that's more like a debate sort of stage. And I do think that's quite a good way of approaching it, because as we know in SEO, there's so many viewpoints on just some of the basic stuff, is GEO, SEO or whatever. And everyone's got a different view on it. So if you can have a debate of some like the top names in the industry, I think that'd be quite fascinating. And yeah, I definitely think we should incorporate more other channels, because we are SEOs, but initially we are digital marketeers, and that's the number one thing that we are. So, SEO, obviously we've been saying it's dying for the last 15 years, but say SEO did disappear tomorrow, what are you going to fall back on if you had no knowledge of what's going on in the digital landscape apart from like the organic space? So you really have to, and we have to, but start working with these other teams more. It's just inevitable. Obviously, you should be doing it already, but UX and paid and social and whatnot. So yeah, no, great points. And in terms of, I probably want to know this myself. What's the secret to networking well? Because I see that you're very good at it and I'm not so good at it. So what's the secret?
I'm not sure if there's an exact recipe for that, but from what I experienced, I can share. And I'm still learning a lot of things. And even now, I'm using AI to learn new methods. But I think the first thing is, first, always we use, but people don't use business cards anymore. Like, we can't only exchange business cards and leave it there. I think the first thing is, if you meet with someone at any event or anywhere, basically, and if you are there for networking, I believe asking the right questions is a really key. Like, I now started creating some icebreaker questions for myself, so I can, because I'm not the native speaker and living in the UK. And if you want to be fast when you meet with someone, you want to have some backup notes in your mind written there. So yeah, being curious about what the person you are just meeting is talking about. And if you are not curious, you're not talking to them anyway. But if you are curious, just make them see that from your eyes. Like, active listening is actually really important nowadays. I'm sure sometimes we feel like we listen, but we don't actually. So depends on, of course, the topic and the person and the platform, but I think it's important. And I feel like even you are not the organizer of the conference or meetup or the networking event, I think if we think ourselves not as a guest, but as a host, it improves a lot your conversation and the way you act to people. Like, because it means that you own the event, you own the conversation, you own the connection in there. Like, you have the responsibility that you feel that and you belong to that community. I think it makes you seen like that. Like, for example, you can meet with a person in an independent event, and then during that event, if you also introduce that person to another person you just met, I think it really makes a difference. Like, you are owning those connections and kind of giving the vibe that you really want to, connect with people and introduce them to each other, which is great. You are like a host, but you're not actually. And I'm also trying to do in my events as well. Like I encourage people to meet new people, new faces, because sometimes you see similar faces then you're in your safe zone. But I think the most important thing that you go out of your zone and try to make new connections. For example, one thing I keep saying at the event is, okay, by the end of tonight, you need let yourself meet at least 3 new people. So at least introduce yourself to 3 new people. So you will have 3 connections. And I think people are kind of, not all of them are doing, but they are doing it. And I guess there was a time that I joined another event. I'm not going to mention it because it just came to my mind, but maybe he doesn't want to say his name. But we were in the same event, and then we were feeling really a bit not connected, like, oh man, I don't know anyone here, etc. And then we were knowing each other, but obviously we couldn't stick to each other. And he actually offered, let's play a game, and whoever got the most connection on LinkedIn at the end of this event, that person gonna win, etc. Something like that. We just made a game up, and then we started connecting people on LinkedIn and tried to push ourselves and even use this conversation as the icebreaker point with the other people. So I think these things are really important. What else? Yeah, follow up is always good. If you linked with someone on LinkedIn or somewhere else, and on the other next day, maybe not next day, but during that week, it's good to follow up on LinkedIn or email if they share their emails with you, and kind of say, oh, it was really lovely to meet you, blah, blah. And anything that you want to share, basically, I think it's important. I think you did that with me, so I appreciate yeah, it's really important. And I sometimes, it's again, me being, not a native speaker, I forget the names, right? Like, I forget the names I just, met, etc. So whenever I connect on LinkedIn, I also have a screenshot on my phone of that person's profile, because sometimes I can't even find the person on LinkedIn as even if I'm connected, because I can't remember the name and surname. So I always have screenshots so that my phone saves the date and the time. So I can say, oh yeah, I met with that person on that event. So those kind of quick tricks I do. Yeah, it's not like a short game. It's kind of a long-term game. I still see people from like 5 years ago. I met at an event and then connected, and we keep having chats at other events. And then, for example, now we are doing some businesses, etc. together. It's kind of a long-term game, and you need to show that you give effort for that relationship to grow. Sorry, I talked too much.
No. It's all really good points. And, there's like many things in life, there's not a right or wrong way of doing it. You do it your own way, but obviously there's some great tips there. And yeah, it can be quite scary if you're not used to doing it. But like with yourself, you're very like many people I see, these events are very friendly and open, and they're there to kind of talk and chat about anything relating to like SEO or whatever, and just get to know you. So nothing to be worried about. It's not like it's nothing bad's going to happen. So yeah, no, it's some great points there. In terms of icebreakers, are there any ones that you can that you've got that come to your mind that you can share?
I don't think like I have something on my memory now, but I guess what I do now is, maybe this could be a tip, because the audience is also depending on the event type and the event audience as well. So let's say if I'm going to an e-commerce growth event, or like in a conference or something like that, because this is the recent thing I've done, I'm gonna use it. I check the event page and see what companies or brands are joining, or what kind of e-com brands are joining. And then I'm actually starting reading some e-com industry news about those topics. And so I can have some statistics in my mind, like to share, like, oh, did you know that recently Adidas does this, and you know what I mean? Like, I kind of prepare some additional insight, and it also gives me some new insight. Kind of is it not is the icebreaker maybe, but it's kind of to make you feel safe when you are having a conversation. You are stuck with the topics to discuss. It helps you. And one thing is that, and the other is I'm also checking the speakers and their profession, and so that if I somehow meet the speaker, I know that what that person is doing, and maybe I don't know that speaker because it's from the past, so it's kind of giving some insight, and I'm checking online because it's a good opportunity. Somehow, if you meet them, at least you can actually introduce yourself and say that how insightful the talk was, if it's insightful, and then continue the conversation from there. I think that's also another thing I do. And if I don't find it interesting, I'm not approaching, of course. But yeah, I guess those are the main things I do recently, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a memory like mine, I don't think it's worth reading about stats. I won't remember it by the time I get there. But no, I mean, it's great. Like you say, you learn anyway. And obviously with things like ChatGPT and stuff, it's a lot quicker to research this stuff. So in terms of like what's coming up, what's your next event looking like? What should people expect in the next one?
Yeah. So we have the second global conference coming soon in October. From 19th to 12th, we have 3 nights, 2 days of conference talks and workshops. And we have amazing speakers. You can check our, conference page. Because if I start calling the names, I'm sure I will forget because we got like more than 25 speakers and they're all amazing. I don't want to prioritize. So, yeah, that's the next big change. And afterwards, we're going to organize a London meetup, which is basically going to be a quick gathering. I'm not sure if you're going to have talks, but perhaps some seasonal strategy talks we are planning. And then next year, I mean, we are already preparing for next year's conference, and it's going to be announced soon. And it will be a surprise location this time, hopefully, fingers crossed. It's taking time to arrange the venues and, the location. But yeah, we have like many meetups, workshops, and conferences coming soon, especially in London. And maybe in Istanbul as well, in Turkey.
Nice. So they're mainly Turkey and England at this moment.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, and hopefully maybe one day I will be there doing something or some live show or something. Who knows?
I am you on that. Don't worry.
I'd love to. It's just logistics. But yeah, I mean, you're doing such an awesome job, so I couldn't do what you're doing. It's easy to jump on here, but actually putting an event together, like I say, I've done a few in my life, but nothing to that scale. So yeah, awesome. I'll put all the links to the event stuff and everything in the description, so people do go and check that out. I'm sure you'll love it. And obviously, ask any questions you want about the event. Obviously, all your LinkedIn details will be on there, so if you want to connect, then you can ask questions about it. But, I've not attended the big one, myself, but the reviews are just outstanding. Everyone I've talked to literally in the industry have said how incredible they are. So, the proof's in the pudding, as they say. So we're going to switch gears now a bit. So less about the event stuff, more just SEO in general, because, you are also very knowledgeable in that space. So I want to get your views on a few things. So what do you think are the main things that SEO should be concentrating on right now and why?
Yeah, obviously everyone has different client portfolio. And I think as a freelancer now, I kind of see myself in the middle of things. Like on the one hand, the projects are going as expected and as we strategized and set from, like, say, 6 months ago. And in the one hand, I have clients who keep coming with new ideas because they see online about AI and, other stuff. So I try to keep them calm, but also try to make them feel like and think like, oh, we are also doing our strategy, considering that perspective as well. So convince them that we are on track, something like that. And like the one side of the client management for me, and that I need to kind of, or we SEOs needs to kind of come up with some, solutions for ourselves. But also, I think with the new AI overviews and, the rankings and clicks drops on the website, I believe myself at least, I need to come up with a strategy that I can show some AI metrics that can make sense to the client as well, and us, our strategy that we set, like how we are measuring the impact that we have done on the website, impact of the implementation we've done on the website. If we are not receiving traffic as we used to have, is it a bad thing or is it an okay thing, or how it is okay? How I make sure explaining this to my clients, what kind of tools I can use to show this in numbers and figures, because they are sometimes the reason they are also asking is because they also need to report their senior levels, and you need to make their job easier. And also, as the person who handles this stuff, I need to educate myself so I can educate my clients and, give relevant insights. I saying this perspective because my last job was at Philip Morris, and, it was the first big in-house role that I got. And then I was like, I was just aware of that there was another world in the in-house, like with the C-levels communication, with the C-levels reporting. And SEOs be like adding details and everything, and a lot of screenshots, reporting. But at the end, they just use two-liners from your report and report to the senior department. So I need to find out, we need to find out the way that how we can actually explain it in the best way and short and concise way. Yeah, and obviously the other stuff like technical structured data, obviously the content quality after the AI contents and everything. Basically.
Right. There's a good points there. I think, it is a struggle when, people upstairs who they've got some knowledge of SEO, but obviously they just look at certain figures and they're used to looking at certain figures. So it's traffic up and down and it's revenue up and down. And that's like, amongst a couple other things maybe. And when they see traffic has gone down, like, I don't know, 60%, that's for them like a huge red flag, and the alarms start going off, and then they ask you, and then you're saying, oh, well, it's because of, and it is hard because there's so much going on. It is hard to put it into, like you say, like a couple of lines, actually what the hell is going on in SEO and search right now. I do the SEO news. I can barely fit it into like 2 hours amount of stuff that's going on. So yeah, it's really difficult. And especially if you're more like, I'm very data led, and I find it extremely difficult to create short, straight to the point reports. I must admit, I'm very like heavy on data and heavy on explaining the data, but yeah, you're going to have to, in this world where attention spans are like the shortest they've ever been, pressure is the highest it's ever been, and the whole search world is going crazy. And it's not even just search, it's obviously, it comes into it, but paid, social, it's all changing very, very quickly, all of it, digital marketing. So, and then the economy across nearly every economy across the world, there's problems. So there's all these things. Yeah, it's a great point. If you can home in on your conclusions and your recommendations, and instead of giving a whole list of recommendations, to say, what 3 recommendations would you do that would really move the needle and why, in a very short amount of text, then that'd be very, very interesting. What do you think of the whole, are you a fan of AI mode, and large language models and stuff. What's your take on that?
I can't say I am a fan, but I am getting familiar with that. Like, for my own search as well, like my own search behavior has also changed. I was struggling in the beginning, but then now I find myself going to other search platforms and then finding useful information. But also, I guess we were talking about last week. It's from a meetup. Is like I keep, not always, but most of the time when it's a really important topic that I need to use in important content, I keep double checking the information I find from AI results, and it actually doubles my job sometimes. I like using AI for a few things. Like, for example, we mentioned about skill level reporting, right? If I have a slide and if I want to make it interesting to, let's say, sales manager of my brand so that they can invest me more budgets or the tools I can use for SEO, let's say, I ask AI, okay, I have this slide and make the title of this slide appealing to a sales manager and make your point, like, something like that. I use it for a few different ideas for my job, but when it comes to research, I always double check. Like, I always feel like there might be something wrong. So it's like, it's also because of the news I read and, other commentaries people made, like, oh, AI couldn't bring in accurate figures about this, etc. It's not even very simple stuff. It just like gives me errors. I can't still understand the numbers and the relationship numbers and AI. Yeah, I mean, I like it, but I also need to learn more what's happening in the background, especially on the depends and the citations we want to be visible on, because I'm also trying content myself on different projects. Sometimes we see ourselves on featured citation, but I was like, what did we done differently than the previous content? Nothing really. It's just the same approach, the same format and strategy, but it's like it's ongoing understanding process. I use different AI platforms. Some are on their beta version, and I kind of provide feedback as well. But also I use the insights I gather from those tools for my clients' work too, because we are all testing and learning anyway. So I think it's also helping for the community at the end.
Yeah, actually going back to your points before, have you figured out what metrics to use to showcase your improvements in AI visibility, and also like what kind of tools are you using to try and find out those metrics?
So how can I say? To make your clients happy, you need to show them the screenshot. Okay, you need to show them where they were seen, and they need to see it. And rather than having the, let's say, oh, this many impressions you received from this or clicks, etc. Because sometimes they say, oh, how are we gonna be seen on these citations? Is there any way we can do? If I track it in different platforms, if I somehow come across it, I have a screenshot to share. Because I know their target keywords and I regularly check where they are actively seen. But also in terms of the metric, it's always good to give competitors, picture. So competitor analysis, let's say. For example, YK I'm using. I don't know if you ever use, but it also shows your current version and as against your competitors on the AI search results. It kind of either Gemini or other platforms, you can see in which platforms you are more visible or you have a share, and in which ones that you have a gap. And obviously it's still in progress stuff in most of the platforms, but it gives an overall idea to the client as well. And they keep like, oh, okay, so how we can fill this gap? And then you start discovering new areas or what they are doing for those, etc. And sometimes that tool, for example, gives you what you might be missing as information on AI results. Like if you have a gap in your I don't know, delivery and shipping information or brand voice or, authority, etc. So you need to be talking more about your blah, blah, blah. So those kind of stuff, you can actually get some insights. Of course, it doesn't give you the full actionable points, but if you understand what kind of areas I'm missing, and I'm checking, yes, actually, I'm making information on there. Another tool was Diogeny. I think it's in beta still, but it was giving you, you have to create campaign each time about a target keyword, and then it gives you at least the citations that are visible in that result, in that keyword search result, and you are not in there. And then you start checking those citation sources and see what kind of contents were actually featured. And if there's common point, you kind of take a note and then use it for your own strategy for your clients and show them. You can, because you create personas and then it gives you the results. There are a few other stuff as well, like it gives you a lot of prompts with the categorization, like loyalty, purchase, etc. So you can actually, okay, I'm focusing on the transaction at the moment. So what prompts I am missing from my content? And then from that prompt, it gives you the brief, actionable insights. So I'm using these platforms, but I'm trying to keep a couple of them now, because otherwise you have a lot of in your plate and you can't really do this for all clients, and then you need to charge double. So it's kind of, I'm trying to also use it as a learning method myself, but also use for my clients.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because the more personalization comes into play, it's going to be extremely hard to track things 100% in terms of accuracy. It's going to be like just giving us direction on where it's going, but actual 100% accuracy is never, I think it's going to be impossible going forward. It probably already is, to be fair. I don't know how much you can fully trust sort of the data you're given 100%. You just have to use it as a guide and go forward. And yeah, I think it's gone are the days of tracking like thousands of keywords and seeing how that plays out. It's literally just going to be focused on the core topics that you want your brand and company to be there for, and seeing how dominant you are. And like you say, obviously using tools like you said, I know a lot of people have, there's all different sort of tools that people are coming across. Obviously you can build your own tools, because you've got ChatGPT, custom ChatGPT models, you've got Replit, you've got all these sort of things here. You can build tools from. Copilot have got the functionality to do that. So, I've built a few of them, and just do your own manual research, like you say, go on the different, try and do it in incognito mode or whatever, but go on like Perplexity and Grok and all the different sort of large language models and stuff, and AI mode, and just see what's showing up for you, see what's showing up for your competitors. Probably stuff that you're missing that they are including, doing a lot better at, or you're both missing that you could perhaps fill the gap, and also see what those follow-up questions are to see where the conversation's going generally. Obviously, like I say, because it's personalized, everyone's conversation is going to be totally different. So that's going to be the problem going forward, I guess. Something I saw when I was, I tend to stalk the person's LinkedIn before I chat to them, just to see what's going on in their comments and posts. But the one thing you were talking about is about customer obsession strategy. Could you give us a bit more info on that and kind of what it's about and stuff?
Yeah, from my perspective, it's about seeing everything from customers' lens. We talked a bit earlier in different perspectives, but like everything you do as a freelancer, everything you do, it needs to be surrounded around the customer's point of view. So for example, we need to be focusing on, instead of what keywords do we rank for, like for their project, we need to be focusing on what problems does my customer has, and then how am I solving that? Because one of the reasons they are working with us is to solve a problem most of the time. Sometimes some are really not aware of why they are doing SEO, but sometimes they are aware of what they are doing and they need to be, for example, increasing their sales, or if it's a B2B project, they just want to be like authority on their field. They don't want to see the clicks coming. They just want to be on the first page and when they search for their main term, especially like banking sector or another like some how can I say long-term sectors like cybersecurity, when the decision making is really longer, or fintech industry, etc. So constant listening, I would say, searching for data for themselves, and not only for SEO, but in general, like I mentioned, e-com industry reports I read, because every week they want to see something, they want to see that, or every month, that you are actually learning their field, like you understand them, you listen to them, and you just don't do down SEO audits and then say, oh, these are the 404s, these are blah blah, and that. They want to see how those actions lead to them to learn. So, and maybe sometimes giving feedback to the customer, getting scared, like, okay, you asked me to do this, but doesn't mean for your own goal. So apart from that, I would do this without the hesitation. You need to be sharing there. You need to be bold sometimes. And at the end, customer appreciates that. But in the short run, it might be a pushback, like negative feedback as well. I think you just need to value, the balance, and then see the value afterwards. So take that risk. I mean, I usually take that risk because otherwise I feel like I am not doing my job. And like recently there was a project, I can't mention the name, but I knew that they have a lot of issues with the technical side and with the, the language and culture models. And I was like, if this is not solved, I can't really do my job properly, and then I can't really create a case study and success story there. So I was even saying, let's pause my SEO consultancy for a couple of months, invest that money to, the developers or whatever, and then come back, because otherwise it's going to be like cheating on my client, and then I don't want to do that. And at the end, it comes in a positive way to you, like comes back in a positive way, and client understand that you are trying to create a value. And and before you kind of say, oh, I'm the best in my field, I think you just need to be, aware of, if your brand is aware of that you are the best, like what do you suggest for, what do you do to be the best on their field? And also, like, not only SEO, we are SEO consultants now, as we mentioned. We are now, like, I feel myself like growth consultant now, and growth is coming from anywhere, like online, offline, external resources. But it's kind of, the other day in a client, I mentioned that because they were really keen on one specific location, and out of blue, I was actually searching for the event in that area, and then I said, okay, look, they have amazing audience just as yours, and completely different industry and event. But if you consider folkloreship for that event, you will be seen by like millions, and on that location specifically, and it is something that you can achieve in like a couple of months, rather than doing paid ads or maybe long-term SEO. You might be also focusing on this in the short run. And they were like, oh wow, we haven't thought about this. And then we received a lot of impressions and clicks from their website as well, like also backlink, good backlink. So it's kind of, you need to be, thinking from their perspective and put yourself into their shoes. I know it's very generic, but like you need to be doing this actively. And out of blue, if you are somewhere, if you have ChatGPT now or other AI tools, you can search details and find out what kind of ideas I can give them in addition to SEO. And at that, you will be feeling like, oh, you actively check for their project, you own the project, and it actually comes in a positive way.
Yeah, I like how you approached it from obviously the users of the website and then also your customers, as in your clients and stuff. And actually, I had a couple of guys on from, well, Jamie Delisandro and Josh Squires on from AMSIF agency on recently, and saying something similar. Although we're SEOs, but actually, like as a client, as a customer, you're there just to help them grow. And whether that means to say, look, you don't need to do this SEO project right now. You should be looking at this to grow. That's helping them as a client. You don't have to just, doing a whole bunch of 404 isn't going to help really grow that much. It's going to help sort of help with hygiene and stuff. But no, it's interesting. And I just put some notes. So obviously, like with SEOs, we've got tons of data of how users behave, what they're searching for, how they're finding us. I think obviously the skill is how to use that data correctly and how to really pull out the findings. That's going to be like the secret sauce going forward. And then, reviews still totally underrated. Obviously, one now more than ever because of the AI stuff, we have to manage the reviews. So, well, obviously, probably not the SEOs, but we have to make sure that someone's managing them because that actually means a lot. But two, also as SEOs, we can learn from them. What are people asking or moaning about, or, what are they talking about in the reviews? Because that's telling you, obviously, they're not happy about something. But also, if they are saying a lot of good things, then make that obvious on your website, make it obvious on your socials and so on. Also, internal search, I think, again, totally underrated in terms of analyzing your internal search data, because that again tells you what your users are really wanting, what they're maybe not finding initially on your website. And I won't go into it too much, but I've had case studies in the past where if I've worked in e-commerce and you can find clear quick win opportunities where people are searching for things and they're not finding, you put that product in front of them and they start buying it, and then, a roadmap situation. I think it's really good when companies do this about being very transparent about their roadmap, and, based off feedback. So users can tell them that they want this or whatever, and they put that into their roadmap going forward. And that's very transparent. And also the user feels part of, people are listening to them, the company listening to their ideas. So I just think there's some great ideas there. And obviously that's based off what you said. In terms of like the future of search, where do you see that going? Obviously it looks like I've saw some stuff on LinkedIn around that saying AI mode is going to be the default coming up very soon. That'll be just Google going forward. It does seem like large language models are growing slightly in terms of market share. Gemini have done very well, it seems, recently. Where do you see it all going?
Good question, and there's no other answer, I guess. Well, I think more obviously I'm not the best person when it comes to video recordings, but I guess I need to get used to this because apparently visuals and conversational content like that, because in the AI world, we want to trust the information we get, and people now find a way to trust you. Like if they see you telling this, they see me on LinkedIn, I'm Yagmur Simsek, but there's also a lot of AI profiles. And sometimes my account can be hacked or, and I think these are from my perspective. But if they see me, I am speaking real. And, well, it can be also AI, but if you put real touch on that, like real story, real things, I think that's another thing that we can focus on. I can even see it on our project now. We started publishing short videos about our conference from last year. And then I started seeing those results. I was in Barcelona. I was checking just search and stuff, the brand name on AI results. And I was seeing even not only AI, but in general, our videos started coming up from Instagram, from YouTube, etc., rather than our website page, like About Us page or whatever. So I need to get used to this, but visual and conversational content and search is actually gonna be next thing. I'm sure YouTube will also bring different features in the future, like to make their search more like a main search bar. So another thing would be to like gaining the trust and authority more than before as a brand. Not for all brands. Some brands are very short term and they're aware of that and they don't deny it. But if you want to build a long term brand, I think we need to be focusing on more like how we're going to build authority, who's going to be the face of the brand, who's going to be the, what would be the brand actions and wars, etc. And the community. Everybody says that, but I think it is becoming more and more important, like creating your brand own community, like your own voice, and sending those kind of signals to search areas like AI platforms that you are the good source to influence people and you have really great content, info, product, service, whatever it is, but you put your customer first and it gives the signal that you are caring about the community and people that you are targeting and creating value for them. And if not Google or other search platforms, people will choose it. So I think community is important. And I guess it was like that in the past, but I think it's more important now. The paid and organic collaboration, like even maybe I can add this to programmatic, like paid is like PPC, programmatic, organic. They all need to speak the same or similar language. Like we can't work separately anymore. We need to meet the paid team when we start a new client. We need to understand what they're onto or how we can optimize in between the budget. That's why, for example, we started like SEO events, but now we are also having paid talks and UX talks, data talks. I think it's really important. And data tracking, also the big thing. Like GA4, of course, we were a bit upset in the past, but then now we are getting used to it. But also, I am following people who are actively trying and testing new trackings and new reports on GA4. I'm not really good at that much, like event tracking or setting the event. But at least if I see a really great case study, I will be like, oh, wow, I should actually apply this to my project and I can work together with the kind of web analytics guy. We can actually create a case together or something like that. So, yeah, those are the main highlights.
So in terms of the finishing up, what you got coming up? What's going on in your world in the next few months or whatever?
Yeah, I think after the conference, I kind of want to work on my personal profile as well because I feel like people only know me from search and events, but I also do SEO freelance consultancy for B2B and e-com. So I want to polish that a bit. Like I want to focus on that as well. And we will continue under the search and stuff. We will continue our meetups, but we are now also releasing workshop projects in London, particularly for now, but then we can expand. So we are looking for partners on that. And yeah, I always say these meetups, they are taking a lot of time and stress, giving me stress, but also very fun. Also, I'm going to be focusing on my clients and obviously traveling more to different conferences and meetups and meet new people. Yeah, I think they're all. And obviously we have Christmas coming, so I'm just going to do a solid break and see what's coming in my way.
Yeah, I mean, that's scary that I've already seen Christmas stuff in the supermarket, so that's really scary. Where the hell has the year gone? But yeah, as I say, all the links to your stuff will be in the descriptions. People can connect to you and check out the events and so on. So yeah, thanks so much again for joining me. It's been an awesome conversation. And obviously this partnership will go on for a while, hopefully, and we can do more stuff together. But yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.